Hey guys. Alright, I've got a theory for you. An elaborate one. Sorry I'm talking quiet, it's kind of late. I couldn't sleep, my son's sleeping. What if UFOs are time ships? And what if the occupants are angels? And what if the angels are able to travel through time and manipulate time in the same way that we manipulate space? What I mean by that is we're five-dimensional beings, okay? We're not three-dimensional beings. A three-dimensional being would be like a cat or a dog. We're actually a three-dimensional being would be like a bird. A four-dimensional being is like a cat or a dog, and a five-dimensional being is a human. Let me explain. We have five senses. We have 5 fingers, 5 toes. We are able to detect 5 dimensions. We're aware of 5 dimensions: length, width, height, space, and time. So the people that go around, just kind of generically saying that we're 3-dimensional, they haven't really thought about it, because we're not. We're 5-dimensional. Just as we are right now, normal, everyday people. We're aware of 5 dimensions. So, for example, a beetle or a bug, or a beetle or a cockroach, or a bug that cannot lift up its head, that is always looking down, that's always walking front or sideways. That type of creature would be an example of a 2-dimensional creature. They're only aware of 2 dimensions, length and width. They can only function in the area of a plane, a 2-dimensional plane. If you were to, put like a piece of cardboard in front of them, vertical on the floor, like if they were walking along on the floor and you put a piece of cardboard in front of them vertical, they would not know what to do. They would not be able to comprehend what that piece of cardboard was, how it got there. They're not aware of us in our real true state. A 1-dimensional creature would be like a worm or a snake. It would be the only sense that a snake has is sight. And the only direction a snake can move is either forward or to the side, not both. It's either one or the other. It's a 1-dimensional creature. A snake and a worm are 1-dimensional creatures. Bugs, crawling bugs, are like an example of 2-dimensional creatures. They're only aware of 2 dimensions. A bird would be, I think, like an example of a 3-dimensional creature who is aware of, can walk pretty much anywhere in the 2-dimensional plane, but can also move upward, up, in the dimension of height. But a bird cannot manipulate space. So a bird can move left, right, forward, back, up, and down, but cannot comprehend the idea of cannot manipulate the space around it. It really can only move, but it can't manipulate. But then animals that are able to, manipulate the space around them, I guess that's not really true, is it? Because birds can build nests. That's not really true. Okay, I don't really know. I haven't really figured the whole thing out yet, but let me just present the idea to you anyway. So let's just say, birds are three-dimensional beings. Animals like cats and dogs are four-dimensional, and humans are five-dimensional. That's why we have five senses. So what would angels be then? Well, angels would be, assuming they're just above us, they would be like six-dimensional beings. So they would have a six-dimensional body, and they would have six senses, and they would be able to manipulate. I mean, like for example, we can manipulate. We're aware of. We have five senses, and we have the ability to detect five dimensions, but we can't manipulate five dimensions. We can only manipulate four dimensions. Like, we can only manipulate length, width, height, and space, but we can't manipulate time. Or we can't maneuver through time. We can maneuver through space, but we can't maneuver through time. Naturally, I mean, it's not a natural ability. Okay, but so angels, then, if they were six-dimensional beings with six-dimensional bodies, and they had the sixth sense, which is the detection of thought. So let's go through the senses really quick. Our sense of sight is the detection of light waves. Our sense of hearing is the detection of sound waves. So a sense is really just an ability to perceive of something. You either perceive of the taste, or you perceive of the sound, or you perceive of the light waves. You're detecting matter. You're detecting light waves with your eyes. You're detecting sound waves with your ears. If you were an angel and you had a six-dimensional body, you would also, this is my theory, you'd also be able to detect thought waves. That's my idea. Okay, so if you were a six-dimensional being, if five-dimensional humans can manipulate length, width, height, and space, but not time, they can perceive of time, but they can't manipulate it. Angels, who are one step above us, or just saying a six-dimensional being, would be able to manipulate length, width, height, space, and time, and would be able to perceive of thought, but would not be able to manipulate thought, meaning that they could not create reality just from thought. That would be a seven-dimensional being. So, bear with me here. I do have a grand point. So, if that is the way that it works, then that means that seven-dimensional beings would be able to manipulate. They would be able to travel through time. We would call them angels. I mean, we would call anybody who was above 5 dimension, who wasn't human, who was above 5 dimensions. We would call anybody above that an angel. But here's the thing. So, right, scientists believe that there's actually 11 dimensions to the universe. String theory, they call it. So if there's 11 dimensions, and maybe there's actually more, because the information that we've been given, like in the Bible, which is a genius, beyond genius book, and that's code. It's code. That book tells us that 12 is an important number. So maybe there's actually 12 dimensions, not just 11. Maybe there's 12, and maybe the 12th dimension is where God is. So, I mean, think about it. It's not just me saying that. It's the scientists that say that, yeah, there's 11 dimensions. So if God exists in the 12th dimension and has a 12th dimensional body, then you can imagine that we would be like a bug from God's perspective. I mean, the way that we would view, I mean, we're 5-dimensional, so 4, 3. Actually, it wouldn't even be that, because from our perspective, a beetle or a cockroach would be a 2-dimensional creature. And if we're 5-dimensional, that's 4, 3, 2. That's 3 levels below us. So 3 levels above us would be 6, 7, 8. So an 8-dimensional creature would look at us in the same way that we look at a beetle, a bug. Jesus said he viewed us as sheep, that we were as sheep compared to him. So if we were to look at it that way, we say, well, what is a sheep? What kind of a creature is a sheep? A sheep is a 4-dimensional creature, I think. A sheep is either a 3 or a 4-dimensional creature. And we're 5-dimensional, so that would mean that Jesus was, I mean, this is just my thoughts. I don't know, but if Jesus was a 12-dimensional being, then we would not be like sheep to him. We would be like microscopic amoeba, not even amoebas. We'd be microscopic, just mites or something. But he said we're like sheep compared to him. So he would be more like a 6th or a 7th dimensional being. But God would be like a 12-dimensional being, and we can't even fathom it. I can't fathom it. Nobody can fathom that. No human can even fathom what a 12-dimensional being would look like, or anything, or even what their abilities would be. Because in the same way that a worm or an amoeba cannot even fathom what we are and what our abilities are. So, we exist in God's world, but yet, in the same way that the worms exist in our world, we exist in God's world. And, I'm judging by, logic would dictate that God, a 12-dimensional being, would be far more advanced than we are, in a way that, hopefully a lot more attentive to the environment than we are, because obviously we don't take care of our planet. I mean, we're humans on Earth. Maybe you haven't addressed this issue yet, but amongst all the billions of stars and billions of planets that are orbiting all those stars, there's got to be other humans out there. There's got to be other civilizations. There's got to be, if there's at least 11 dimensions to the universe, then there's all these different dimensional beings, but there must be other humans as well. So we're just one planet of 5-dimensional beings who are not, we're not taking care of our planet. I mean, it's not anybody's fault. But for some reason, we were pulled away from what we used to do. We used to naturally just take care of things. We were natural caretakers of the lower life forms, the animals, the bugs, the grass, the vegetation. We cared for this planet. And that was what that's our natural inclination, is to do that. But somewhere along the line, and I'm not sure where, but I feel like it was in the last 100 years, maybe a little bit more. Somewhere along the line, we were taken away from that. We were taken away from our caretaker position, and we were turned into our planet has turned into I don't even know what the word is, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's a disaster. It's turned into a disaster. And to think that our caretakers, to think that we don't have caretaker, is insane. So I'm not even going to address that. If anyone out there does not think that there are beings that are higher than we are, then I'm glad they're not watching my video, because I'm not even going to address that issue. But to think that our caretakers, the beings that are above us, who are lords over us in the same way that we're lords over the animals, to think that they would not step in at some point and restore order, restore the natural order on our world, just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And somebody left us a genius book. A genius book that was written in code. And these people were able to travel through time in order to leave us messages. Why? I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I haven't come up with a good reason why they would leave us those messages, but there is no question that they have. I mean, if you haven't seen my other videos that were recently uploaded, you should check out the last video that I uploaded, or a few of them, because an angel, a time traveler, went back in time 2,500 years ago to speak to a Jewish man. And the Jews were just like this nation of people that were in touch with these time travelers. For whatever reason, maybe because they were amazing record keepers. Maybe that was all it was. Or maybe it was more than that, I don't know. But these people have kept their holidays for 5,000 years or more. I mean, you want to talk about impeccable record keeping. Their historical chronology goes back 5,000 or 6,000 years. If you were a time traveler and you wanted to get a message to people living in 2012, but you couldn't do it, you couldn't just transmit it through the television, or maybe for some reason you didn't want to do it that way. Because maybe you didn't want everyone to get the message. Maybe you only wanted certain types of people to get the message. Like maybe you were conducting a separation. Maybe you were conducting a harvest. Maybe you were collecting the good wheat, but you didn't want to collect the bad wheat, so to speak. That's what it says in the Bible. It says that all through there, that there's a separation happening, that they are separating the good from the bad, and they have a system for how they do it. And they also said that none of us are without immorality, meaning, like sin, whatever you want to call it. Jesus said that. He said that there was absolutely no one on the planet, by the time the last days come, there will be absolutely no one on the planet who is without, who has not participated in immorality in some form. So we're all sinners, basically. But we also know that there are some people that are not. We also know that there's the wheat and the chaff thing. They're saying they're separating the good from the bad. So even though we're all immoral in this immoral world that we live in, we've actually been programmed to be immoral, and we continue every single day. The television and the society is programming you to be immoral, and there's no question about that. They want you to be immoral. They're encouraging you to be immoral. So it really takes a lot of strength and courage and just a high sense of morality to not fall into complete and utter disgust. And I think maybe that's their system. Maybe. I don't understand why they do what they do completely, but I don't want to get on here and talk like I know what they're doing and why. I really don't know what they're doing and why, but I am hypothesizing, and I'm basing my thoughts on my own experiences and my research and just pure logical reasoning. Repentance is a really important thing. People who are in it's not about, just go say you're sorry. It's not about that. It's about true remorse. So yeah, Jesus said that every single one of us would participate in this immorality in this world in some form. But also throughout the Bible it talks about repentance and how people that have good hearts will be remorseful. So it's not really about just going and praying and saying, please forgive me. It's just not about that at all. It's your heart. It's in your heart. It's and I'm not trying to have like a religious discussion here. That's not really what that was not my intention. And I am not a religious person, believe it or not. I'm not. I mean, the person that I see in my mind's eye, which, by the way, I never had visions prior to 2009, so I don't know what's up with that. I really don't know what's up with it at all. But the person that I see that I call Jesus is maybe he's just an angel, or maybe he's not an angel at all. I really don't know. But so I'm not really a religious person. I was raised Christian and I was programmed Christian. So I fall back on Christianity. But I'm really not I don't belong to any religion, and I have respect for all religious beliefs. To me, it's not about dogma. It's not about what religion you are. It's just what Jesus said. It's about your heart. It's about, not a single one of us is without immorality, but it's about your heart. It's about how you feel about being a part of this world. Are you disgusted by it, or do you love it? Because if you love it, then unfortunately you're not gonna make it. Because how could anybody love this world? The horrible, evil things that are happening. Either you would have to be ignorant, just choosing to ignore all the horrible things going on around you, or you would just have to be evil yourself. And people that just don't have a heart they're not going to make it, because I mean, this is my own idea, but I think about, wow, what if there really is a system in our galaxy, in the universe, of an organized civilizations that have already figured out that there are certain character flaws that just cannot be tolerated, or such as the love of evil, the love of destruction of life, kind of thing, would be one example of just a serious character flaw that just could not be tolerated. Because can you imagine what would happen if we did live in, it's impossible. It would be impossible for there to be a grand organized civilization, Federation of Planets, or whatever you would want to call it. It would be impossible for that to happen if everybody was a lover of destruction, because they wouldn't even make it that far. They wouldn't even evolve to that level. They'd destroy themselves. So that would have to be the first and most important agreement amongst everybody. I mean, I would think. I don't really know, but I'm just that life is sacred. All life, not just humans, but all life is sacred. Anyway, I get off the subject from that. I didn't want to get too deep into that, but I'm at this point now where it's just impossible for there to not be a civilization more advanced than us. It's just impossible. I know they're out there. I know they exist. And I know that there are good people that are higher than us, higher dimensional beings, whatever, and they're good. I know that because they couldn't make it that far if they weren't. So I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, I'm a person who is kind and compassionate to creatures that are lower than myself. So that means that there has to be beings who are above me, who are also kind and compassionate toward creatures that are below them. So I kind of think of myself as a hobbit now. And, I never really did before, but the more I think about it, the more I logically think about it, it just makes sense. I mean, humans are hobbits, and there are beings that are just, they are just higher beings, meaning they have a more advanced biological form. In the same way that our form is more advanced than a cat or a dog, their form is more advanced than a human. And it just has to be. That's the structure of everything below us. And so that would have to be the structure of everything above us as well. Anyway, so, aside, putting all of that to the side and just saying, okay, yeah, maybe that's true. Are they the ones that left us the holy books? And I think, they would have to be the ones that left us the holy books. The holy books, my holy book is the Bible. I know other people have different holy books. It depends on where you were raised. It depends on your life story, all that. I was raised in America. I was raised Christian. My book is the Bible. But it just makes sense that if they were going to leave holy books for us as guidance, it just makes sense that they'd leave holy books in every culture, not just the Hebrews, not just that they'd leave the books just for everybody. So I don't have this idea that, the Bible is the only holy book. That's just my personal perspective. So the really weird thing that gets me, that I can't understand is, why are they telling us what's about to happen? And there's no question that they are. Daniel 12, and I've already talked about this before, so I'm not going to get way into it. But Daniel 12, Revelation 12, and Matthew 24 are all intricately entwined with each other. They are all connected, and they all talk about the same thing. They talk about the last days and being saved and carried away into the heavens. Daniel 12 says, "And at that time I will deliver my people, every one." And it says, and then it gives a specific timeline. It says, from the time that the position of employment is given oath until the idol of terror is placed in the hallowed fortress, there shall be 1,290 days. And we already know that earlier in Daniel, they told us they were talking specifically about Obama. They said 7 plus 7 years after 1947 and 62 years after 1947 is Messiah. So 7 plus 7 years after 1947 is 1961, the year Obama was born. 62 years after 1947 is 2009, the first year of Obama's presidency. Is it a coincidence that Obama looks identical to the ancient pharaoh Akhenaten? Is it coincidence that the Egyptian pyramids are perfectly aligned to Orion's belt, that planet X is coming from the constellation Orion, and that the star Sirius is in also right next to Orion and considered by mainstream scientists today, maybe not mainstream, the scientists today, specifically at the Binary Research Institute, who believe that Sirius is the second sun in our solar system, that we have a binary solar system and that Sirius is the second sun. It would explain a lot. It would explain the Egyptians' obsession with Sirius and the Orion constellation. That something came out of there. A winged disk, a winged planet, a red globe with wings. It's flying out of the constellation Orion. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of hate in our world. And I try to stay out of it. I'm human. But I try. I try to stay out of it. But Egyptians are not evil. And the pyramids are not evil. It's a mystery. Somebody built those pyramids. Somebody far more advanced than we are. They know that because they cannot replicate the technology that they find. For example, like the hieroglyphs that are engraved in the stone. They can't do that. They cannot engrave letters into the stone in the way that they find the pyramids. They also cannot fit blocks of stone like that together in the same way. It's beyond our technology. Who did it? And why was Obama important to the angel Gabriel? Why did Gabriel go all the way back in time to tell Daniel about it, knowing that Daniel would keep impeccable records and it would make it all the way to now? Why would he do that? There's no question that he did. I mean, the book of Daniel, he says that the angel Gabriel, I'm not just making that up, I mean, it says that in the book of Daniel. I've read the book of Daniel. I probably need to read it 10 times because it's so hard to understand. It's all symbolic code language. I just can't figure out why. I just can't figure out why they would need to do that. But if you think about it, the UFOs, getting back to the UFOs, Daniel tells us, first of all, something important about Obama. Messiah, he calls him. From the going forth of the decree to restore Jerusalem, which happened in 1947. From that, 7 plus 7 years until Messiah, and 62 years until Messiah. So, Obama was born 7 plus 7 years after 1947, and 62 years after 1947 is the first year of his presidency. So we know that he's talking about Obama there. We know that it's 1947 that it starts because that was the decree that went forth. We also know, and that's Daniel 9:27, the decree that went forth to... It's Gabriel. Gabriel tells Daniel, from the going forth of the decree to restore Jerusalem. That's when we're supposed to start counting. Jesus also said that. Jesus said, from the time that the fig tree buds, one generation shall not pass. One generation is 70 years, in the book of Psalms. And the fig tree is Israel, book of Hosea. I think, if I got that right. So it's all code, and they're all saying the same thing. St. John, Jesus, and Daniel. Daniel 12 plus Revelation 12 equals Matthew 24. Daniel 12 says, and at that time my people shall be delivered. What time? Well, from the time the oath is taken until the idol of terror is placed, that happened on August 2nd. The oath was taken on January 20th. 1,290 days after that is August 2nd, 2012. It happened last month. There's no way anybody could have known that was going to be fulfilled until last month. And the angel said that. Daniel said, I don't understand what you're talking about. And the angel Gabriel said, don't worry about it because nobody's going to understand until the last days. And guess what? Nobody did understand it until last month. Because it hadn't been fulfilled until last month. When they took that steel beam that Obama signed and they placed it in the New World Trade Center on August 2nd, exactly 1,290 days from the time the oath was taken in 2009, that fulfilled Daniel 12. But only part of it. Because the second part of that verse says, and blessed be those who wait and come to the 1335 days. Well, the 1335 days is next Sunday. It's the Feast of Trumpets. Everything seems so normal. It seems like nothing's going to happen. It seems like nothing's even going on. But Jesus said that too. He said it, at the time that this happens, it's going to be exactly the way it was in Noah's day and exactly the way it was in Lot's day, where people are just living their normal daily lives and not thinking anything is about to happen. And if you think about it, that's always the way it is when something really, really crazy happens. You never know, and you're never aware of it, at least, if you're just an average person, you're not aware of it, And I'm included in that. I'm not, Yeah, there were some things that the angel showed me that came true, but that's not me, that's the angel. I mean, I deciphered it. I had the ability to decipher it. Yeah, that's true. Because it was kind of hard to understand what he was trying to say. But I've never been one of those people that's been able to know what's going to happen before it happened. I was shocked when the Japan quake happened. Even though the angel had been showing me axis shift, axis shift, axis shift. And I did the research and I was like, I think there's going to be an axis shift around March 11th through the whatever. And then it happened. I was just as shocked as anybody else because I didn't really feel that anything was going to happen. The angel showed me. And I somehow was able to figure that one out. But, I've never been one to be able to tell what's going to happen next. And so when I say, that we're usually shocked when something happens, think about 9/11, What were you doing the day before 9/11? Did you feel like something was going to happen? I mean, maybe you're one of those people that has feelings right before something happens. I'm not. I don't, that doesn't happen to me. That's why it was so weird when I started having these visions and they started coming true, because I have never been a person who knows things before they happen. I mean, I did have a few dreams that came true later in life, but what I'm trying to say is I'm not like an empath or something. I can't feel when something's about to happen. My point is, it doesn't feel like anything's going to happen. But that doesn't mean anything. That's my point. That was the point that I was trying to make. Sorry for going off on a tangent. But I was trying to make the point that, yeah, we don't feel like anything's going to happen, but that's the way it always is before huge disasters happen. Or huge events, whether it's a disaster or a blessed day. I mean, Daniel says it's going to be a blessed day next week. But, I mean, you never feel like something's about to happen. You always think, oh, it's just a normal day. I mean, that Japan quake and that axis shift was huge. And I remember going to bed the night before and thinking that I was just some kind of crazy, maybe I was just a crazy person who was obsessed. I did not feel like something was going to happen the next day. I mean, that's how it is when this stuff happens. It happens and you don't expect it, and you're going about your daily life. I was planning to go to the store the next day. It was just blah, 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 normal. I imagine people in Japan were the same way. I imagine the people at 9/11 were the same way, except for the ones who supposedly knew beforehand, but I'm not going to get into that because I don't know anything about that. All I'm saying is that people who try to use the argument that everything's normal and daily life is normal, therefore nothing will happen, it's a faulty argument. That's my point. And besides, Jesus said that that's exactly how it would be. That people would be just living their normal everyday lives up until the very day of the event. So don't you think it's kind of weird that 1947 is the year that Israel was declared a nation? And that was what we were told to look for, and that was what the angel told Daniel. And that was also the year of the Roswell crash. That was the year that UFOs. That was the year that UFOs, the UFO sightings started in the United States. The first sighting in the United States, the first major sighting, I should say, of UFOs in the United States happened in Washington State over Mount Rainier. There was a guy, I can't remember his name, he saw some flying saucers over Mount Rainier, and that is why they built the Space Needle. They built the Space Needle to represent those flying saucers that were spotted in 1947. That's what the Space Needle represents. Google it. It's there. The information's there. I'm not making it up. That's what the Space Needle is. It's a flying saucer. It represents the flying saucers that were spotted in 1947. The same year, a flying saucer crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. 1947 was the year that the angel Gabriel told Daniel that it would all start. Coincidence? No. What does it mean? I have no idea. I have no idea at all. But, like I said, I don't feel like anything is going to happen, but that doesn't mean anything. The fact is, all of that stuff that the angel told Daniel has come to pass. So much of it has come to pass already. I just can't imagine it not coming to pass next week. But what does it mean? I don't know. It's so hard for me to even comprehend. And I think, some people would say, oh, God's not going to save you. Why would God do that? God would rather you save yourself. Okay, yeah, I get that. And I think that's true to a certain point. But I think that there's a larger picture that's happening here. I think that these visions that I was shown in 2010 starting in 2010. Or the apocalyptic visions started in 2010. The apocalyptic visions that I was shown of the object entering the solar system, of an object hitting Earth, of this huge object rising above the eastern horizon, larger than the moon, in the middle of the day. All of the stuff all these visions that I was shown, really intense visions. One of them was a charcoal-looking planet thing. It looked like a piece of charcoal. It was black and then it had red on the inside, coming into the solar system. I mean, all these visions that I was shown, some of them have come true already, and that leads me to believe that the others will too, but I don't really know. But I think, okay, so this must have something to do with it then. It says in the book of Revelation that a star fell to the earth. So here's my thought, my theory, I guess. Okay, so what if we do live in a binary solar system? Two suns revolving around each other. If you want to know more about that, you can go watch this documentary. It's called The Great Year. It's on YouTube. A lot of scientists believe that our solar system is binary because many solar systems are binary. And so it would not, it's likely, I guess, that we live in a binary solar system. But the question is, which star is our companion sun? And so the Binary Research Institute is, scientists that are researching, the question of whether we're a binary solar system. And their first candidate for the companion star is Sirius. I don't really know why I looked into it. I just went to their website and I saw that. And I was also shown a vision of Sirius, the star Sirius, and I have no idea why. But it makes me think, wait a minute, okay. I'm putting all these puzzle pieces together, and, there's that patch of space right next to the Orion Nebula, which is right where the star Sirius is, and there's this patch of space in Google Sky, and on Stellarium, too, that's blacked out, just cut out. And those coordinates, I showed you that in one of my old videos. Those coordinates show what could be Planet X coming from the constellation Orion. I also showed you a diagram that I plotted out myself of what I thought the orbit of Planet X might be based on the axis shifts that we've had since 2004. We've had a 1-inch axis shift in 2004, and then we had a 3-inch axis shift in 2010 and a 4 to 6-inch axis shift in 2011. And I was thinking, well, and they all happened in an interval of 188, 89 days. So there's a pattern to these axis shifts. They're not random. And so I was studying that pattern, and I plotted out a diagram, which I posted it in one of my videos earlier this year. You can go look at it. Sorry, my eyes are itching. It's late. And you can go look at it. It's probably in one of the videos talking about the axis shift or Planet X or something. But anyway, I plotted out a diagram that seems to match, and it comes from the Orion. It would make Planet X coming from Orion. So here's my theory. This second sun, or companion sun, is getting closer to our sun. That's why all the planets in our solar system are warming up. That's why the sun is having these flares. That's why the scientists are saying they expect a massive solar flare in 2012 or 2013 that's going to possibly wipe out electricity all over the planet for several years. Scientists have been saying that for a few years. So this companion sun is getting closer to our sun like it always does. It will rotate around the sun whenever it does out in the Oort cloud. The Oort cloud is way out there past our outermost planet. It's far away. And so the companion sun passes through there because scientists say there's a debris field out there. I mean, that's what the Oort cloud is. It's a debris field. So they say, well, that must be where the second sun passes through when our two suns circle around each other. They're far away in one part of their orbit, but then they get really close together and they whip around each other and then they spread out far away again. Okay, so that's all, fine, whatever. It's in the Oort cloud. Okay, but wouldn't that second sun have planets revolving around it? Yeah. And couldn't it have planets revolving around it that are as far away as, say, Neptune is? Or as far away as the Oort cloud is from the sun? Yeah. So that means if that second sun goes through the Oort cloud in our lifetime, one of its outer planets could pass through our inner solar system. Makes sense, doesn't it? So that outer planet of that other sun could be Nibiru. And furthermore, Nibiru could be a circumbinary planet, meaning it orbits the other star for 3,600 years, and then when the two stars get close together, Nibiru switches over and orbits our star for 3,600 years for a total orbital period of 7,200 years. That would match the Sumerian text, which supposedly, according to Zecharia Sitchin, Nibiru had an orbit of 3,600 years. But the Hebrews said that the gods would return after 6,000 years, or after 6,000 years, meaning at the 7,000 year mark. So, I don't know. I really just don't even know. But I just find it interesting that 3,600 years times 2 equals 7,200, and that's close to what the Hebrews said. So we have the Sumerians and the Hebrews. Now let's talk about the Mayans. Here's the crazy part. We now know that the angel Gabriel pinpointed the year 2012 to Daniel, that there's something important that's going to happen in 2012. There's no question about it. But we didn't know he was talking about 2012 until last month. We didn't know for sure he was talking about 2012 until last month when that prophecy was fulfilled. But the Mayan calendar is what everybody pretty much thinks of when you say the year 2012. They think, oh, the Mayans. The only problem is most people don't even know what the real legend is about 2012 because there's massive amount of disinformation on 2012 in the Mayan calendar. So massive that you probably don't even know what Monument 6 is, do you? Because I didn't know what it was either until last year. Monument 6 is the artifact that has the date December 21st, 2012 on it. It's the artifact. There is no other artifact. From what I've read, Monument 6 is the only Mayan artifact, that has that date on it. The archaeologists do not disagree about that date. They all agree, all the way back to the 1930s, they all agree that December 21st through the 23rd of 2012 is the date on Monument 6. How do they know that? They know because the Mayans kept impeccable astronomy records. They kept a record of every solar and lunar eclipse with their dates. All they had to do when they were comparing the Gregorian calendar with the Mayan calendar is compare the eclipses. But they didn't even just do that. They compared it with everything. That is why every single archaeological team that studied the Mayans, every single one agrees that that date on Monument 6 is December 21st to the 23rd of 2012. There's no debate about that. It is that date. 13 Baktun, 3 Kankin, 4 Ajah, I think is what the Mayan date is. Okay. There were about 7 different teams that I read, 7 different archaeological teams, if I'm remembering correctly, that studied Monument 6 and came up with slightly varying translations of what it said. But they all agree that it's saying that the 9th god will either return or be visible on that date. Every ancient culture all over the entire planet, almost every single one, talked about the planets as being gods. The 9th planet, the 9th god is Planet X. It's not Pluto. Pluto is not considered a planet now, and it never was a planet because it is a tiny Kuiper Belt object amongst many, many Kuiper Belt objects, and it is smaller than the Earth's moon, and astronomers do not consider it a planet. As of now, our solar system has 8 planets. If and when Planet X shows up, it will be the 9th planet. That's what 2012 is about with regards to the Mayans. It's about the 9th planet. It's about Planet X. There's a lot going on. And it's just hard to believe, because we've lived our whole lives with nothing like this ever happening. And it's hard to believe that it even could happen. But I just don't think that the combination of the Mayan Monument 6 and the agreement amongst all those archaeological teams in combination with the Book of Daniel also pointing to 2012, saying, my people shall be delivered at that time, my people shall be delivered every one. And Daniel 12 says that. Revelation 12 says, and the child will be caught up to God in his throne. There will be a sign in the heavens. That sign happens on October 16th. The exact sign in the sky. Virgo, with the moon beneath her feet, clothed in the sun, giving birth. The sun is right at her birth canal. The sun is the bridegroom. Psalms 19. No question about it. No question about it. Revelation 12 is fulfilled October 16th. Daniel 12:12 is fulfilled on September 16th. This isn't like last year. Last year was about Elenin. Elenin was a psyop. This is different. This is different. I'm not saying I'm having a hard time believing it, but it really is different than last year, and it really is mind-blowing. And the fact that we're not being told. I mean, come on, if this stuff is real, don't you think the governments know about it? Don't you think the Vatican figured it out 1,000 years ago? Come on, I'm not that smart. There's people smarter than I am. They figured this out. They know. They have to know. They know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. They know what's going on, though. And those of a lot of us that are on YouTube, we're on here because we're searching for the truth. And all we ever get are these little breadcrumbs. And we're starving. We're starving for the truth. And that's why I think it's so interesting Jesus talks about the feast. The feast. Because we're starving for the truth. And that's what I really want, is to just sit down to a big old feast of the truth. A full course meal of the truth. And I mean the ultimate truth, the truth about everything. Anyway, I just think it's just, I don't know about you, but I'm celebrating. I'm going to try to celebrate the Feast of Trumpets the traditional way, or, according to what the book of Leviticus says. I think it's Leviticus 23 that talks about the feast days and all of that, and how they're supposed to be celebrated. Granted, I'm definitely, I don't know. I mean, they used to sacrifice animals and stuff like that. I mean, obviously that's not. I don't even know if I believe that they did that. I have a hard time even believing that that's even true. But, I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm going to observe that holiday. And in whatever way that I can, that does not require animal cruelty, you know what I mean? Or anything like that. But I'm just saying I want to observe that holiday. I don't know. I really don't. And I'm kind of sick of all of it, honestly. I'm just sick of it. I'm going to be glad. If nothing happens, I'm going to be so glad when 2012 is over. I'm just going to be so glad. But I just don't think I don't think this stuff is a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. The UFOs starting in 1947, Jesus and Daniel telling us that it all starts in 1947 and ends before 2017. And something really major happens in 2012 of not just the Hebrews, but the Mayans and who knows who else. I mean, it's all just a little too coincidental for me. I don't know. I don't know what to think, but I just wanted to share my thoughts, I guess, for whoever feels like listening. It's kind of weird to me that nobody's talking about it, It just seems like everybody dissipated, Everybody disappeared. There's that one scripture that says, I will make them turn their backs before I smite the arrows upon them. And, I mean, I can't remember what the scripture is, but that's what happened. After Elenin, I mean, that's everybody just... After September of last year, after we made it through September and then we made it through October and nothing happened, it was like, yeah, we were all duped, and we knew we were. But it's just bizarre to me that so many people aren't paying attention to these mind-blowing information that has just come to light, but nobody's paying attention. It's so weird. It's so weird. That's what I think is the weirdest thing of all, is that just so many people are ignoring the information or not understanding it, or I don't know what. That's what's just really weird to me. That's almost even weirder than the idea that, there are beings that can travel through time. I mean, that's acceptable to me in my mind, but people ignoring information like this, that's really weird to me. That's even weirder than the prophecy itself. That's even weirder than the Obama looking identical to Akhenaten. You know what I mean? It's the weirdest thing of all, how these people can just ignore this stuff. I mean, that is just, oh man, I don't even know. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go because I'm really tired. But I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. I hope you're having a good weekend.